several times during the day. I would just start, crying, and I couldn't stop it. You're not going to hold a job down doing meth. But at that point in my personal life, I was just telling God that I was sorry a lot. Dude, you got to make the decision. Like, you got to come now or no. And I was like, all right.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we continue to the third part of Josh Broadwater's interview, so be sure you've already watched parts 1 and 2. Last time we ended with Josh committing himself to the hospital, worried he was a danger to himself or others. In this episode, his struggles continue until a series of opportunities open up and Josh decides he's ready.
So they lock you, they kind of hold you down.
They sit me in a little hospital cell for, I don't know, it was maybe the rest of that night, and then they got me hooked up and sent me to Cedar Pines mental hospital, which was in Fayetteville, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I stayed at Crescent Pines I was there for a good 2 months. When I first got to Crescent Pines, man, literally, I just sat, and I didn't talk to nobody, but several times during the day, I would just start, crying, and I couldn't stop it. Because, just that emotional image of seeing Grayson, just crying, and the whole time she pushed him away, he was just crying the whole time back. And, I'd just sit there and cry and not be able to stop it. And that happened for, a good couple of days of just trying to be there and, just hold myself together for not totally cracking and showing these people, hey, this dude really is crazy. We need to send him somewhere better.
Yeah.
So, but in that, I started calming down a little bit, and then got into a room and had a roommate. So, kind of got into more of a, okay, this is okay. Maybe it can get better, or I can at least keep going, this is something. And, they would have classes during the day where, it was very emotionally driven, like learning how to, recognize, certain feelings and, that type of an arena.
So for the first time, you're actually starting to look at yourself.
Yeah.
Starting to realize there's changes need to be made.
Right.
You actually, I would assume that's your first step to start putting some work in on Josh to try to start turning the corner.
Yeah, that, and they just had little, stuff like that to do. I did get on medication, like a low dose of, buspirone and just some low doses of stuff, which did help because I was, coming off of meth and a bunch of all kind of chemicals in my system. That helped, and then once I was in there, towards the end of it, I got to start talking with like a counselor, and he was the one. All right, what would you hope for after this? Are you going back to somewhere, or what do you got going on after? And I was like, look, I don't have anything, so I don't know. And he started talking about Sober Living America, and that was a rehab program, and this might be something that'd be good. They can get me a job, and I was like, okay, that could be cool. That's, again, at least it's something. It sounded good, so I said okay to that. So they hooked me up after I was there, like I said, maybe 2 months, and then I went straight to a Sober Living, which was in Lawrenceville, and got there, and got into a bed and everything. I was clean when I was there. They got me a job. I started working at Susanna's Kitchen in Gwinnett, and working a job, was making good money, was sending some money back to. I did good for like 6 or 7 months again. That was kind of my window.
Yeah.
And then
the pattern.
Right. And then kind of met a guy that was in the house too, and he worked at the same place I did. Well, then we started getting rides back from these guys that we worked with, and they would stop by the liquor store on the way back. Well, then we understood, hey, we can get this and just take it to our back room. We both live in that back room. We can just sip on it, and we didn't get caught. So that started happening, and then that was pretty much every day. And then
so you came out of there probably worse than when you came in.
I was better than when I came in. I mean, I was doing less drugs than when I came in. It was basically all that was really different.
Yeah.
But well, I was there like 6-7 months, and then about a month of, now it started drinking and kind of having fun in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I get a call from Grayson's mom, and now she's in the hospital with kidney trouble. So, I mean, it was like dire straits kidney trouble. Like, her kidneys were shutting down. And so when she calls me on that, I just end up going back because, my son's there, I can't, she's the only one with him. If she's gone, then he has nobody. So I need to go back there and handle this. So I go back, and it's kind of the reunion of, she actually said, when I got there, she was like, I didn't really think you would come, and I still loved her. I still do love her. But it was just, I think it was a play on, hey, something I can get back, one of these loved that, they really did love me. They want me back. They really do. This is round 2, we're going to do it right this time. But it didn't.
Obviously, that didn't play out.
No.
So how did that all play out then? Where did it?
It was good. I don't know, not even a year. And then New Year's Eve rolls around, and we're kind of living in extended stay, apartments or, the little econo lodges and stuff like that. So again, I'm working on New Year's Eve. I don't know, it's 2014, maybe 15. No, 2016 maybe, somewhere in there. And so we're just gonna go get some cocaine, just for New Year's Eve. We're just gonna do it once. We're not gonna get back on it. We're gonna go get some cocaine. She knows where. Well, comes back, and the guy didn't have cocaine. All he had was meth. Mm-hmm. So she got some meth. Well, if that's all we got, it's New Year's. We're just gonna do it once, though. This is not a thing again. Well, everybody knows how that happens. Yeah. It became a thing again very quickly, and just went right. It's like everything right back into that rut that we've made from before, and it just goes right back into that. We're at one Econo Lodge. I got a job with underground power company called Troy Construction. Again, now I'm making $23 an hour because I had a CDL that I had gotten from UTEC Construction several years before that. So, working with her, we moved to a different Econo Lodge, which is a little bit nicer, a little bit cleaner. So again, like, hey, it's kind of looking okay. But then again, we just meet the same people over there that were at the other one, and it's the same deal, yeah. So it got progressively worse at the second Econo Lodge place, and then that's when it had just, from the catching me with porn and just the fights over money and alcohol and who's gonna do this, and and then it got just real violent. And I never hit her, but I mean, I would choke and hold, and she's it was physical, not bad physical, but it was physical, and just, but more a lot of hurtful words that, I mean, we really got dirty as far as you know what, you're a blah, 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 and you can da-da-da. I mean, just killing each other with words, which in my mind, I would much rather you punch me in the face and beat me down. But words like those, that kills from that point on, and that's never remembered. So just from that, I was like, you know what, I'm gone. Like, I'm leaving. There's really no choice. And then I ended up losing that job at Troy Construction just because I was an idiot on meth, and you're not going to hold a job down doing meth. Mm-hmm. So I just, again, take a cab, and just from the first time being SLA, I'd pick one in Atlanta and get a cab there, show up at this SLA, downtown Atlanta. So I get there, and I'm maybe there the second week, they got me a job through a temp service. I got paid on the card one time. That one time, by the time I got home that day, somebody had hacked into it and bought pizzas and paid cell phone bills, so I didn't have enough money to pay rent that week. So from that Friday, I can't come back. So I got to this place by a cab. So I stayed in a closet for like a night, like hiding in a closet with a sheet over me until the next day that they got me a job at the Gold Creek in Dawsonville. Well, the next morning the bus came at 5. I got out there at 5 and caught that little bus to Dawsonville. And so now I'm in Dawsonville. And I don't have a sober living. I don't have anything. I have this job at Gold Creek, which is just an $11.50 an hour. I was sweeping up stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I had was that little job. I think I had a cell phone at this time. Still kind of talking here and there, checking on Grayson. So I'm there like a couple of days. I don't have anything. I stayed with one person for like 2 nights. But then, so I just start sleeping and living in the back of, they had parked semi-truck trailers out in the parking lot that they didn't use. So I just started,
at the job.
Yeah, out in the parking lot of Gold Creek. So after I'd work my shift, I'd just walk down behind the things and get up in the semi-truck, and that was where I hung out and slept until the next day work. Sometimes I worked 2 shifts just to stay in the place, use the sink to kind of freshen up in the mornings, and that was how it was for a good, month and a half of just living in a semi-truck. And one of the guys that worked there ended up getting me like a blow-up mattress. I had like a blow-up mattress to sleep on, but still, at night they'd come take certain trailers, so I'd be sleeping in that trailer at night, hearing either the one next to me or close, that's getting taken. So, every night was like, are they going to take this? Am I going to have to jump out? Am I going to end up waking up in some different state? That was every night. Well, again, this is where God intervened where I did not deserve it. And my relationship with God at this time, by the time I'd gotten to that point, especially being in that trailer, there were some nights where me and God had some pretty good conversations. But at that point in my personal life, I was just telling God that I was sorry a lot.
Yeah.
And that's when he really began to put people in my life as to getting me on this new path. The first person was the head maintenance guy at Gold Creek Foods. He was just walking around the parking lot, checking trailers, saw my stuff, called me into the office, just asked me what happened. And I told him, hey, I'm homeless, I have nowhere to go. And he said, okay, I can hook you up with the HR lady at the Gold Creek Foods in Gainesville, and then she could get me a bed at the Baptist Mission downtown Gainesville. He said, would that be something that you'd want to do? And I was like, absolutely, like when and where? And he was like, well, it's going to be tonight. And a cab came and picked me up and took me from Dawsonville in here to Gainesville. And that's how I initially got to the Baptist Mission downtown.
All right. What happened in the Baptist Mission that starting to make some changes and some things where you start turning some corners?
And again, this is God putting people in my life. The Christmas of that year, I'm just sitting down having lunch, and an older couple walk into the Baptist Mission and just sit down across from me, and we're just having a normal conversation of, a little bit about how I got there. I told them I had Grayson, nothing big, didn't get deep or anything, and they just walk up and leave. I met them at that time, and that is Doug and Lynn Hanson was who that was that sat across the table from me. Just a normal conversation. That's all it was. They left. It wasn't a couple weeks after that, if that. I'm walking downtown Gainesville one Sunday morning just to go hang out. Didn't have nothing else to do. Didn't like the church that the mission went to. Couldn't stay there during the day. So I'm walking downtown. Another guy that's from the Baptist Mission is in Danny's Donuts. He sticks his head out the window. Hey, we're going to Free Chapel. You know, why don't you come with us? You're gonna love it. It's great. All right, I don't have anything else to do. He tells me, okay, these people are gonna come pick us up, and they're gonna be in a van. So we're sitting our way. A gray van pulls up. We go to get in. I open the door, and it's Doug and Lynn Hanson driving that van. Now, when I got into that van, immediately when I got in that van, I walked to the back of it and sat in the back chair, in the back seat. As we're driving to Free Chapel, and we picked up like 2 or 3 other people, I'm crying my eyes out in the back seat because I didn't know what, but I knew something started that day. Something changed and started that day. And that's what it was. And a couple of days after that, I remember.
So in other words, that's the moment hope kind of the power of people who care and the power of people who want to serve. Like you just when you get around people like, especially like Doug and Lynn, who if everybody's not aware, Doug and Lynn are the founders of North Georgia Works, and have been long time advocates for those in need in this community, and are obviously well known and well respected. Obviously, Miss Lynn is the most loved human being in this building for sure.
Yeah.
But when you get around people like that, people who are really willing and advocates and doing the work, man, you just feel, you know it, man. Yes. You know that you're in a situation and an opportunity is being presented to you that you can either mess that one up or you can follow and something good's going to happen. So even if you don't know what's happening, I mean, it's still around you. So they picked you up and started to tell me how that relationship kind of went.
I mean, honestly, you know, it started with them taking us to Free Chapel, and then they'd take us to like Church's Chicken after and get some chicken, take us back. But then just through me and Doug just talking, and he would just take the time just to sit down and talk to you, you know, non-judgmental. But at that time also, all of my grandparents had died by that time. So, and my grandparents, when they were alive, to me, I mean, that was the best years of my life. My grandparents were just amazing people. The grandparents on my mom's side, we'd go and spend summers there. So they were like a big part of my life and really, really important to me. So when Doug and Lynn came along, it was like kind of like, these are my new grandparents. But just like, they're better because I've never met any people like that. I mean, all they did was love and care and want to help and this and that. And then so Doug starts telling me about this program that he's coming up with called North Georgia Works, and you know that it's going to be a 12-month program, and we're just going to have classes, and just to, at that time, the thought of it was to get homeless men off of the street, give them tools, and get them back into an arena to get back into being a successful person in society. That was the original.
Well, still the goal. Yeah. Right. Not much has changed in that world yet.
Well, Doug quickly found out a lot of homeless people like being homeless.
Yes, that's very true.
So, you know, they know where to get their stuff and they're happy, and, you know, so that deal. But just through, you know, talking and that, really through the relationship that Doug built with me, just by not telling but physically showing me, you know, I'm just here to help. I have no intentions but to help and to better further your life. And just through that is, you know, then he was like, you know, I want you and Tommy to be the first 2 people to go through.
You were the very first person to walk through this door in 2019, correct?
July 16th, 2019. And it's funny because I remember right before I got here, one thing I was talking to Tommy, because I knew Tommy from Baptist Mission, and Tommy was like, man, I don't really know about this program, man, but I know Doug and I trust Doug. So for me, off of that, I was like, you know, it's on. And then I talked to Pastor Mark, and it was the weekend before, and he was like, all right, you got to be here on Monday. And I was like, can I just have this weekend, one last weekend to see you in Grayson? He's like, dude, you got to make the decision. Like, you got to come now or no. And I was like, all right. And then July 16th, stepped through the door.
So Doug, finally, you come in. You were the first guy to walk in the door.
Yep.
obviously work is a big part of the way this program's founded. You know, our foundation, our kind of idea is that, you know, we can't start tackling the bigger problems until we get some of the basics done. And the basic of all basics is you got to work. You got to have a good job. It's got to pay your bills. That's what leads to stability. And we can start working on the rest as long as we can keep you stable. So you had a job, and actually you have a really cool job. So you were working at Americold. All I really know about Americold is that when I tried to offer you a job, they outbid me, so I lost you. So I'm not totally bitter about that. But they've been super cool to you. So tell me a little bit about your job there, what you do, you know, and about that whole environment.
When I was here, I was working at Americold as a stacker, which was just they would unload frozen chicken or fresh chicken, and we'd just restack it, and that's all I did all day. So just it was a monotonous job, but I enjoyed it because it's physical, number one. I've always enjoyed, that's for construction, I've always just enjoyed the physical part of it. You know, so that was cool. I was kind of getting a workout, decent people there, but what that because this is all I was doing all day. So what that allowed me to do at that time is I didn't need to focus on my job because I'm just doing this. So all day I could focus on what I had learned the night before in life skills class. So I wasn't just learning something in that class. And a lot of the times, God, the next day, whatever was in that class, something would happen at work that I would have to use what I learned that night before in class.
And so what you're referring to is obviously you work here at North Georgia Works, you work during the day. But at night, we have all sorts of classes and recovery support, and something's going on every night. So it's a tough program. You're going to work all day. And then you're coming home and you're going to school all night, right? And then you're going to bed and getting up and doing it again. So you're talking about the classes that would come in, and we talk about any number of kind of things that kind of help you get better at understanding yourself and ways to improve yourself and do all that stuff. So you like the fact that the job, but eventually at the start was just allowing you to kind of focus on that. But I mean, very quickly, Miracle, it started out pretty simple, right? But I mean, the companies that support us now, they're not just jobs. They got to understand what our mission's about. They're going to have to rally around you and understand this is a guy who's trying to get himself into a better spot, and they're committed to that process. And the people on the ground that you're working with are committed to that too. And you have a lot of people there that have always been very, very protective of you and kind of helped you grow. So even though it started monotonous, you've moved up in some pretty big ways there. So tell me a little bit about some of your promotions.
Yeah, I mean, really from day one there, I just felt, this company really does care about their employees, and I'm not just a number or another person working there. And through, everything I was learning here, just how to handle myself better. And, because of this program, I was there every single day. So I was becoming somebody that they could count on. I wasn't calling out sick, and this and that. Through that happening, then one of the guys there who is in a position called a wave planner, that's who controls all the forklift guys and what they get, where they bring it to, all that. So it's like a managerial supervisor position. Well, that guy ended up getting fired, so that position was open. Really, at that time, I was wanting to get into maintenance, but there was no maintenance positions open. Everybody will tell you a maintenance position hardly comes open because once you get a maintenance position, they keep it for the rest of their lives. So no positions open. That one's open. I'm kind of getting tired of, stacking all the time. I need to make a little bit more money. I'm doing a little bit more. So that position comes open. All I did was apply for it and talk to one person, and the job was mine. And within like 2 days. So again, totally God just opening that door at the right time. So now I'm a wave planner, which this position is totally different from just doing this all day. Now I'm, over 10 forklift drivers, what they're getting in the back, which in the back it has to be certain dates that can't be out. I got to have specific numbers. a lot of numbers that have to all be absolutely correct. So now this is jumping into, whoa, I bit off a lot here, but through biting off all of that and with God backing me, which at that time I felt, okay,
You felt that
I was
confidence.
into the, something big's happening here. So, just trusted God in it. And He showed me so many different lessons in that position, just with working with people, how to, as far as a leadership position, how to take on people, not to let the, like position or things happen during the day, not to let me just blow up and, screw this, man, and make an idiot of myself. And just, it taught me so much in that position. It was tough. I mean, it was hard. It was very, very stressful at that time. At this time, still, I didn't have Grayson at this time. He was still with his mom. So, this is all happening. Plus, I'm getting him like every other weekend, trying to be a dad every other weekend. But then he just goes back, and like I get him 2 weeks after, and it's like, I have to be a dad in 2 days, and it's just not. I remember one time at that time, just he was at the house, and Grayson was right next to me, and I just broke down, and I was looking at him, and I was crying, and he looked at me and saw me crying, and uh, he said, "Are you happy or are you sad?" And I said, "I'm sad." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Man, because I can't have you here all the time. I want you here. I want you here all the time, but right now I can't." And I knew what he was going back to, and I had to take him back there. And just, that was one of those moments that, just an emotional stamp of, look, here's the next thing that's coming. So everything you think's going on right now, there's a purpose to everything that you're struggling through and stressing through, because I just showed you what the next thing's going to be. And getting him back is going to be harder than this new position.
Obviously, in the journey to get your son back, that's not something you're going to be able to do alone.
No.
Right. One of the things we do here as a program is we've always set our men up with mentors.
Right.
You had a pretty special guy. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with your mentor, and let's kind of start from the beginning.
Right.
But I'm going to kind of work through what that has become for you. So tell me about your first time meeting this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I remember coming into class one night, and again, when we went to class, we would go to work, and we'd have to come back here and put slacks, button-up shirt, tucked in with a belt, shoes, and a tie.
Yeah.
Before walking in that classroom. But it's the way Doug put it across, is we're not walking in there to play around. We're walking in there to do business, and this is serious. Mm-hmm. So we need to act and dress like it, which is well in society. You need to walk and act and dress like the way you're telling people and saying you are. In the workplace, in general. That's the life lesson of that taught, which, again, just another thing that is ammo for. So we're in class, and Mark tells us, okay, so we're going to be assigning you guys mentors, just somebody that can just come alongside you. And, it wasn't gone into too deep, and gave me a piece of paper, and it had a name on it, said Jason Lester, and said a couple things about him. He worked at FCA, just random little facts, nothing really big. And just something about him being in FCA just clicked with me from, the religious background that my parents brought me up in. I knew what FCA was. They had FCA at my high school. So just something about that was like, maybe something can happen with this guy because of that one little thing. There's one little thing that we kind of have in common. So, in that. But I remember, and I'm sure Jason will tell you the same thing, the first time he came here, it was like a Sunday afternoon, and I was just sitting on a little chair out there, and Jerry just comes walking in, and he just sat down, man, and we just started talking, and It wasn't, so, what'd you do to get here? What happened? It's just, so how's it going? What happened today? Just normal buddy talk. And just from that, it made me, it allowed me to put my guard down, because again, this is another person that I'm seeing, hey, I don't feel any hostility from this dude. It was just different. And so just from talking, and then once that barrier was let down, and then we could really start talking about some serious issues of, my son, what happened with that, his mom, my background, just really start talking. And it was, that relationship just took off throughout a lot of my life, really after my dad died in 2005, I always wanted somebody to take me under their wing. And for a long time, I had in my mind, man, if I just would have had somebody take me under their wing and teach me, none of this would have happened. But if I would have had that person back then, I wouldn't have listened to him. So God waited until I got here and gave me Jason, who was that person. And that was like, my Paul or my Peter or my, Jason was my dude, man. And just how we are now, it's just continued. We talk every couple of days, at least once a week. We go to church together. He knows everything about me. And he's one of the very few people that knows so much about me. But it's just because of that relationship that he put the effort for. And one of the biggest things that he taught me early on, and again, it's just a story of his daughter needing new tires on her car. It's $350. So Jay was like, well, so we just went and paid $350 and got the tires. But to me, I was like, well, and just a couple months ago, if something like that would have happened to me, $350 would have ruined my life, because I couldn't have done that, because I was paycheck to paycheck. It don't matter if it's 800 or 1,000 or 300. That was going to be gone by the next Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm bumming to get to Friday. That was every time. So if $350 would have happened in that, I'd have been dead in the water. And now I've got a son that I'm supposed to be taking care of. I can't let that happen financially ever again. That was a big financial click in my mind. The second big thing Jason taught me was, there's two things that I have control over in my life, and that's attitude and effort. Mm-hmm. Attitude and effort are two things that I have total control over. When something happens, what attitude am I going to have towards this, and how much am I going to put towards it or not put towards it? And again, that was another okay, that's a pretty profound thing, and then from that point on, things would happen where I'd be like, yes, I, at this moment, it would be at work or something would happen here. At this moment, I have the choice to decide what attitude I have in this. Is this going to affect me? And how much am I going to put into this? And it propelled things again, just into a next level.
And to be fair, so really, one kind of theme that's come up in your life a lot is you point to people who you thought loved you,
right,
and how that would always lead to abandonment.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden you meet this guy. Now, let's be clear. This guy has no special training, right? He didn't come at you like a doctor or a psychiatrist. What did he do? He was just there, right?
Just got an FCA from a person and just...
met you where you were,
right?
And he made a commitment to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that commitment has not wavered. So, theoretically, when you leave the program, right, after a year, your mentor can go back and mentor somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And you should go on. But that has not happened with you, man. Tell me a little bit about where this has gone even after you left.
Yeah, it was from very early on. It turned pretty quickly into a relationship that was, yes, it was mentor, because he did mentor me, but now he's become a friend. Now I know his family. Now I know his kids. Now he's like my dad now, because I don't have a dad anymore. So that's like that father figure for me now. And just to constantly have somebody who is, I know he loves me, and I know he loves me for the best part of who I could be, not because of where we met or because of my story. That's not his care for me. His care for me is genuine for me, person to person. Like even he's told me, and he'll tell other people, our relationship is just, it's different than all the other relationships that I have or have ever had. And I mean, we talk all the time and we go to church together. I mean, I constantly see him. He knows everything going on.
All right. So, but here's the real question. So, all this has happened to you. You've had a pretty rough run in your life, right? Or at least the back half of your life, right?
Right.
How much of your change, which has been remarkable, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But as the first graduate of our program, you have really been a banner for what happens when our approach is kind of applied to some tough situations. And you have been nothing less than just an absolute example of how one person, when dedicated, can turn their life around. And we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about some of the rewards that come with that. But as much as God and you have worked to get you here, is it fair to say that the kind of gas to that fire were the relationships that Doug had in you, but also really the amount of effort that a guy like Jason, who just was willing to give.
Right.
I mean, he didn't have to sign up for a lifetime contract. He didn't have to pay any money. He just said, hey, man, I'm going to come through the doors.
Right.
I'm going to have a conversation with a guy, and I'm not going to walk away when that conversation gets tough. And that one act right there, that one act of service is really what helped a guy like you kind of turn this thing on its head, just knowing you got some people in your corner that when things got tough, they didn't leave you. So, I mean, how would you rate the impact of that amongst all these other elements that helped you get where you are today?
There's not really words that can express that, but just having, and I would have to say he's the one person that I can say this about, that I know that I could call him at any time with any problem, and he would either physically come help, whether it be with money or talking or getting in the word or whatever. At whatever time, I know that would happen. Not just because he said that or because of what he's done, I would think that's happened, but because that has happened multiple times. I've had to call on him and ask him for help, and he has either done something or said something that did helped the situation, made the situation better, and continued on the good path that God has for me. So to have somebody like that in my corner that I talk to on a regular basis is, I mean, if I didn't have that, I would not be where I am, no matter how much I tried or even going here or whatever. If I didn't have him now, I would have to say I would lose what I had here.
All right. So one of the things that Jason actually does for us now, he didn't at the time, but what he does now is he actually, his relationship with you has kind of fostered a bunch of passions in him. And now he runs our mentor program. Now he finds mentors.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Jason has to do is go out into the community and find other men and try to convince them to come do what he did for you. So why don't you do Jason a favor and tell anybody who might be watching this video or listening to this podcast who thinks that they can't do this or they don't know what to do, how much of an impact they could have on a man if they would just have the courage to do what Jason did, which is walk in that door and sit down next to somebody and be willing to just listen, not be afraid, and just stand and walk through a guy through this process. Tell those guys the power of that and try to give me a little bit of a sales pitch to get them in this building.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough going through this program and making the decision to get sober and to change all these things in our lives. That in itself is hard enough. So just to have somebody, and again, like I said, you don't have to come here with Bible verses and with all this knowledge, and you're not coming here to help these guys. You're just coming to say, hey, I'm here. You know, if you would like, if you would like, I would just like to sit down and just talk to you. And I've seen it here time and time again. It happened to me. That's all I wanted, was somebody that I do not know, somebody that does not know me from before, doesn't know anything, may know a little backstory, but somebody that I do not know to come talk to me. Just that fact that I don't know this person and they don't know me allowed me to kind of drop a wall a little bit to at least start talking, because again, this person doesn't know me, so I can tell them whatever I want, you know. But at that time, I was in the mode of, I'm gonna tell because I'm sick of it. But again, even if that's not the fact that you come here to talk to make things better, just come here to spend time. Because me and a lot of the guys that are here, they've had so much taken from them. So many people have died. Everybody in the family knows that they're a piece of crap and that they've ruined all of this stuff and nothing ever happens. And yeah, you've been to a rehab before and it didn't work one time, so it's not going to work this time. All we want is just a fresh start with somebody. And to have that person is that fresh start. And again, it's not, all you have to do is just be willing and just say, yes, I'll just come here and see what's going on. I know guys right now that will come here one Hope Sunday and they want to come back just because they are inspired by what God's doing here. And, you know, North Georgia Works, and there's one other rehab. Those two rehabs, the other one's a girl, those two rehabs are the only two that I believe in, because God is in this place. And if you walk through these doors and if you're just open and just say that you'll come and see what's going on, because these guys need it more than even I can express, because I can just express, you know, me. I know me. I see what happens to the other guys here once they get a mentor. And it's just, I mean, just recently, I could tell a story of a guy that even when I first came in here, I thought, you know, this dude is pretty hardcore, you know, he's straight up affiliated. But then very quickly I see, dude, this guy's broken, bro. And then one of the guys in my group says, you know what? I've just retired and I don't have anything else to do. So here's my number. Please call me if you need anything. I will come up here. I don't have anything else to do. I will come up here and spend time with you, talk to you, whatever you want to do. Here's my number. Please call me. He gets a call the very next day, which breaks him down because this guy's calling him. And then when he answers, he says, I'm so thankful that you called, man. I'm struggling so bad today with whatever. I need help. Can you please help me? And all this guy did was talk to him on the phone and just say, look, man, we all do that. It happens. It's okay. You know, don't overthink it. Just, you know, just simple, not, well, you need to go to John 3, whatever, and you need to read this and you need to repent and you know what happened. No, just, hey, man, I get it. I'm here. I'm here. And that has been, this certain person has been here at North Georgia Works for maybe 3 weeks, a little more, whatever. The second week is when him and the mentor started talking. Today at Chestnut Mountain Church, that person who is in here got saved at Chestnut Mountain Church because of that relationship, because of just somebody will answer a phone. That caused somebody to go from death to life. And I mean, that's kind of all I need to say on that.
Yeah, you can't say anything much better than that.
No. A big thing in the beginning is, who am I? God allowed me to see, that's me. Mm-hmm. Like, Grayson is me. And I've had people tell me that they love me just to leave me. And I'm not doing that to this person. I can't let things that happen to me happen to him. I can't let him see I'm just going to ruin his life. The bad things that I chose to do and had fun doing them, the one thing that I can do to kind of make up for that is to help somebody else in whatever.